Good morning, I'm Rusty Cates, 11 minutes after 8 o'clock. And on this Thursday, we have the hotline to Washington, D.C., and representing Mansfield and much of Richland County, our Congressman Pat Tiberi is on the line. Good morning, Congressman. Thanks for calling.
Good morning, Rusty. It's sunny here. How about over there?
Not bad. We started out cloudy. We're seeing some peaks of blue sky and sunshine. Temperatures in the 80s today.
Nice.
Yeah, it's supposed to be warm over the weekend. Hopefully you're going to make it back home, spend some Memorial Day. Yeah, with the family. We are all excited about the Cavaliers.
I know.
You were working late last night. Did you miss the game?
I missed the game. Yeah, we didn't finish voting on the floor last night for the two people in your audience who watch C-SPAN till about 11:30. So it was a late night voting.
I think you have overestimated our interest in C-SPAN.
Okay, maybe one person.
Pat, what were you voting on? What were you doing so late?
We were voting on the Energy and Water Appropriations Bill, which funds like the Army Corps of Engineers and other infrastructure projects. It's one of the annual 12 appropriations bills that funds different parts of government.
Congressman, I want to ask you about these new guidelines. I'm pretty sure this is a presidential directive. Biden was in Columbus a few days ago. Perhaps those that own businesses are aware of this.
Yeah.
New Department of Labor overtime rule. I think it will kick in right now in December. And if somebody works overtime and they make less, I think, than $43,000, I'm going off what I remember, you get paid like time and a half or something, and this could really be a great boost in income for a few salaried workers, but certainly a hardship for the owner of the business. So
exactly, Rusty. Before I talk about the specific issue, I sure hope that sometime soon we have a debate in this country, reignite the separation of powers, and this president in particular has taken an aggressive stance on legislating from the executive. Our founding fathers created checks and balances for a reason, and this president has gone the extra mile in again, putting the issue aside, because almost every single department in Washington, D.C. has taken the rulemaking authority to the next level and clearly are legislating at the administrative level. And I would argue this is another example of that. And quite frankly, there's going to be so many unintended consequences. Let me give you an example. I got a call on the day that Joe Biden was in Columbus with our senior senator and the Secretary of Labor announcing these rules. I got a call from a family-owned business, a guy from a family-owned business. He and his sisters own a business that their grandfather had started, and they're a small business, small margins. They have a couple hundred employees, and this regulation, at best, will cause them added expenses to try to figure out how to comply, number one. And number two, at worst, they're going to have to lay people off. But either way, in a business that doesn't have very large margins, it is going to have an adverse effect on the employer, which ultimately impacts the employees.
Yeah, you mentioned the layoffs, and it's easy to get excited and say, "Oh, woohoo! Look at this huge raise I'm going to get." They're saying the average salaried worker that just works 50 hours, that happens a lot in retail and restaurant work and so forth, could make $12,000 additional dollars a year according to this Obama directive. Well, they may not have $12,000 wiggle room. Somebody's going to have to go, and if there are two salaried workers, look at that other guy, and one of you is gone.
Rusty Cates for Congress.
Yeah.
Rusty, let me tell you, I learned this at a really young age. Everyone wants to get paid more. Heck, who doesn't? I haven't found anybody that I know who doesn't want to get paid more. I remember as a 16-year-old working at McDonald's, our minimum wage went up when I was 16, working at a McDonald's in Columbus. And we were so excited. We had a bunch of high school kids. Thankfully, I got lucky because I had been hired sooner than a couple other of young kids, high school kids. They got laid off. So it was good for me because the manager came in and said, we don't have extra money growing on trees in the back parking lot. So, yeah, some of you guys are going to get a little bit of extra money, and some of you guys aren't going to have a job. And the guys who got hired after me didn't have a job anymore. That was a great lesson in economics at a very young age, and I'll never forget that. The unintended consequence of government coming in and saying, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Joe, Buckeye, you have to increase your wages, and if you can increase your prices, great, but if you can't, you're going to have to figure it out.
Well, we need a subversive tactic here. Is it possible there could be some legislation before December to derail this?
Well, we're going to do it in the House. The question always arises about the Senate, and can they get 60 votes? And in a silly election season, the presidential season, it's going to be hard to do. It's going to be really, really hard to do. Here's the silver lining on all these executive orders that are coming at us so fast across the board, is that the next president, cross our fingers, will have a different view on this, and these executive orders will go away.
Let's talk about another subject. Just this week, the Ways and Means Committee was talking about welfare reform. Are you on that committee?
Yeah, I'm on the Ways and Means Committee.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, we had. I don't know if you saw it, Rusty. This is amazing. This is the first hearing on welfare reform in the Congress in 10 years, which was stunning to those of us that were on the committee and found that out. And if you I don't know if you saw the hearing or not, but it was a classic hearing on some on the far left claiming that we were trying to force people to work who couldn't work, the old classic line again. But it was a really good hearing, and we are going to try to actually update some of those classic laws that were passed back in the 90s, welfare to work laws, that you might remember. Some on the far left said, people are going to go on the street. This is about dignity. Work provides more than just a job, as you know. Work provides a lot of different things for people, social interaction, ways to advance in life. And having the dignity to work is an important part of our society that we often don't talk about anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's part of getting people off welfare who are able-bodied.
When it comes to the term welfare reform, people think, those Republicans, they want to kick grandma to the curb, and they want
you were watching.
Yeah, they want to starve America and people that need help. But really, the only people that are probably going to be impacted by welfare reform are the people that are involved in the bureaucracy. We have way too many people trying to implement way too many programs.
Well, again, Rusty, right on target, and part of the problem is here in Washington, and what we said during this hearing is, listen, by any measure over the last 50 years, what the Great Society has tried to do, and you can argue, rightfully or wrongfully what they tried to do, but you can't argue that after 50 years and millions and millions and millions of dollars spent, that we have solved the problem of poverty in America and solved the problem of people who are trapped in poverty, who want to get out of poverty. And sometimes these incentives are so perverse that people get trapped generationally, as you know, in our welfare system. And the bureaucracy oftentimes is a big part of that problem.
Yes. Welfare reform with so much waste and duplication, ineffective. I saw a number, you didn't mention this, but something about $1 out of every 100 is actually effective spending.
It's even worse than that. The governor who's trying to do this reform at the state level has pointed out to the federal government that the way that the system works today is that county agencies actually have the ability to count people who are actually counting paper clips as working, as classified as working, and so you gotta be revolutionary in the way you look at this and try. And part of the problem is to your point, is trying to get the bureaucracy to deal with change. Because, quite frankly, What we have to do is throw out the old model and come up with a new model. That's why I talked about this bill that I introduced a few weeks ago that won't add one bureaucrat actually to this poverty agenda. And that's how do you figure out, Rusty, how to get wealthy people like Dan Gilbert, the owner of the Cavs, how do you get more people like Dan Gilbert to invest in poor areas and give them the ability to unleash capital in poor areas to try to turn poor areas around without having this one-size-fits-all government-centric plan. Let's get the private sector more engaged in solving this problem, and I think that's the next way to go. The Uber way to go, if you will, looking at different ways, different models to solve this problem.
Congressman Pat Tiberi, representing Mansfield, most of Richland County. You mentioned Dan Gilbert. Now I'm thinking about the Cavs again. just like when we started.
This could be the year.
It really could. Very interesting when it's come down to these conference playoffs. Hey, as far as Memorial Day weekend goes, do you have any traditions?
Parades.
Parades, yeah. Are you going to be involved in a parade or speaking?
Yeah. We do an annual Memorial Day parade in Delaware County, my home county, with my family and all the girls. So it's a tradition in Powell, Ohio.
You follow the Indy 500?
I do. I mean, I'm not a huge racing fan, but yes, it's part of the tradition.
We had Charlie Kimball on earlier this morning.
Sweet,
one
that's
of
great.
The drivers. I had a great time talking with him. So he'll be one of the fellows I'm rooting for from the Chip Ganassi team. And a lot of people in the Mansfield area enjoy Indy racing because they've been a part of Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
Which is a great course.
For so many years.
And the Ray Hall family, obviously, from Central Ohio, and Ray Hall Racing, been part of that for a long time as well, which is another Ohio connection.
Yeah, we'd love to see Graham Ray Hall take the checkered flag. That would be delightful. Hey, Congressman, thank you so much. Always informative and wonderful to talk with you. Have a safe trip back to Ohio.
Happy Memorial Day. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. All right, live with us on this Thursday, 26th of May, U.S. Congressman Pat Tiberi.